about things that your stress. Think of stress as a ball, and inside that ball of stress is some feelings of frustration, some feelings of disappointment, some concerns and worries, some feelings of embarrassment. Those are the four basic colors of emotion, those four things. So you come to this relationship, or you're on a date, or say you're with a guy, whatever, and you say, it's such a joy to be with you. And I just want to decompress from the day. I'm going to talk about some things. Really, I don't want you to say anything. You don't have to fix anything. Just listen, and I'll feel so much better, and we'll change the subject. That's it. That's on a date. But you would do this in a relationship. You afterwards, you say, oh, you're going for the hugs. Oh, thank you. That felt so good. Because you will soften if you can express your emotions. And that softening is estrogen. And when you soften, you produce pheromones that increase men's testosterone, and he starts to like you more. And you bring out the male side of him. Because if you're a strong woman, you will tend to attract sensitive guys. The opposites attract. So what you have to know is that that sensitive guy, he could have a strong male inside of him that you can bring out as you go to the soft feminine inside. You have to do your change inside yourself. But I want a man who'll make me feel like a woman. No, you have to feel like a woman to attract a man who will make you feel more like a woman. Okay, I'll say that again. I like that one. I hear from Will. I want a real alpha man. Women come up to me and they say, I want a man like you, confident, successful, hardworking, doesn't get upset about stuff. I mean, that's what I want. Make me feel like a woman. I go, yeah, you have to first feel like a woman before that man's interested in you. He's not interested in you at all. And the second thing is that man doesn't exist even for you until you find the woman inside. Then the man will come to you, who will be able to provide. And he doesn't have to be that big alpha male either. He could be this really kind, generous man, and a safe man, not dangerous man, not self-centered man, not playboy man, but a man who actually could provide the support you need. And if you become more feminine in his presence, rather than becoming like his mother to improve him, but you become more feminine inside, then you'll get so sexually turned on to him, and you'll be multi-orgasmic to him. But prior to that, you would only feel sexual attraction to the man who really can't give you what you need. Because see, this is what happens to women all the time, is that they say, I have these men that I'm attracted to, then they don't call back, they don't want to be with me. And I said, yeah, that's because you're on your male side, you have sex right away, and you become like a man. He doesn't want a man, he wants a woman. And so he will be disgusted with you. He will not like you. I mean, it is reality. This is man talk here. If I can have sex with a woman right away, I like myself more when I'm with her, but not her. I feel like, oh, look at me, look what I did, and it's on to my next conquest. Men, they need to feel I earned your love, and you need to feel he earned your love. But if you're trying to win a man over, you're on your male side. You need to let him win you over. You need to let him help you feel better. So what you want to do on your dates, because I presume lots of the women are single, but not all, is on your dates, you want to make sure that you do not ask more questions. Don't seek to please him. Don't be hard to please, but don't make it so easy that you're pretending to be happy until he does stuff for you. He should pay for the date. He should plan the date. He should talk less than you. You should ask less questions of him. I mean, you're not heartless. When he talks, you go, oh, that's a good idea, and then come back to you. And well, that makes sense to me. These are things that bump up his testosterone. Good idea. That makes sense. Oh, I'm having a good time. I so much enjoyed this concert. You see, when you say, I so much enjoyed this concert, he feels he is the concert. You don't have to thank him. Thank the concert. And he goes, yes, I brought you to the concert. I picked it out. If you control the whole thing and you pick it all out and you do everything, he doesn't get to take credit. Masculinity wants to take credit for the woman's happiness. And you have to find your happy place inside of you. And I guarantee you that as you start becoming more vulnerable and can open up and share what's inside that you wouldn't share at work, that means undressing yourself emotionally. And you're not going to do that until you feel safe. So you have to go slow with this whole thing. Get to know somebody, get him to do things for you, have conversations with him. In the beginning, have conversations where you disagree with his point of view and show him that you can actually have a completely different point of view and not have any need to change his point of view. See, that's the most exciting thing. That's polarity. As you think differently, he thinks differently, but you're not trying to change him. You're not trying to convince him. You have to take away any part of you that's trying to convince him, change him, and see what he can provide for you. And let that stimulate you. Differences is what creates attraction. And they need to harmonize. Differences only create conflict when we make the other person wrong. We want to change them, or what women often want to do is improve him. He's good enough just the way he is. And if you try to improve him, he'll smell it. But if you use him to make you improve, see, use him, he's now successful, and you'll bring out the best part of him. But it's indirect. It's using him to make you happier. That makes him feel stronger, and he will grow in his masculinity.
Oh, wow. Like, what a great concept, just really. And I love really this idea of leaning into the insecurities. One thing I always say, be secure in your insecurities. Look, like if you're anxious or aggravated, is it actually more panic underneath, right? Like you called it fear, but I like when it's like intensified fear, it's like almost like panic. Because that was my breakthrough with my husband, was actually saying, my husband's like, well, there's got to be something else. It can't be just the rage. What's underneath that? And I was like, panic, like so much panic. And but the thing is, like, most women, they don't have access to that. So it's like, it's not they don't want to have access to it, but they don't even know. They have no idea.
No, and that panic, I would use the emotion name is panic's good, but also scared. See, it's as I'm scared. It's so interesting when Bonnie, the first time she showed that part of me, part of her to me, it made me feel so strong as a man wanting to protect her. You see, it brings out the best in men when women can reveal their vulnerability. When she said she was scared, it's a interesting story. Here I am, I'd been a monk for 9 years. And so I'd only been out in the world maybe 3 years before I was married to Bonnie. And so I was just getting myself grounded into the world where you make money, making just enough. But I wanted to provide the best for her. So I had a house in the Pacific Palisades. I was renting it, and I didn't know how I was going to pay the rent, but I was busy counseling every day and teaching my classes and so forth. And then but she was being the dutiful wife, always trying to be positive, and which was sweet, okay, trying to be positive and put on a nice smile. And I was really overworking, coming home really tired. But I would notice I felt good when I was working, but I'd come home, I'd suddenly start to feel anxiety. And I'm like, where'd this come from? And, this restlessness inside of me. And what I understand is when you connect with your partner, if you're a man, if she's not dealing with her emotions, he'll feel them as a part of him. See, we have these mirror cells. So if you have emotions coming up and you're not revealing it's coming from me, his body will take it on and think it's him, because we have these mirror cells. That's why when a woman is happy, it makes a man feel happy and successful. Okay, that's why your happiness is everything to a man, the mirror cells. And they don't always work both ways. If I'm happy, it doesn't necessarily make my wife happy. Okay, that's just the reality of it.
It just is one way,
It's only one way. But when she has fear, and I suddenly I can mirror that, and I don't even know where it's coming from, I would feel this anxiety. So I said to her, now, honey, I know that I'm thinking I have all this fear come up when I come home, and maybe you're also feeling fear. Are you any insecurities? She's going, no. I trust you. You're my husband. I believe in you. And I said, yeah, I know all that, and I love you for that, and so forth. And it's okay if you also have other feelings inside, because negative emotions, if you feel them, they'll go away. You just have to acknowledge them and let it go. And she said, no, I only have feelings of love for you. You're just amazing. I know how hard you're working for the family. I don't want to be negative at all. And I had to convince her. I said, look, so that's a good preference. I love you just the way you are. And I also have these emotions inside, and I can share them. Is that okay? I said, so I'm saying it's okay. And so what she said is, okay, well, I do have some fears. I'm scared inside. And I said, okay, well, what is it? And she said, I'm scared that I married the wrong man. I said, okay, I didn't expect that one. And then she said, I mean, it was brutal truth. And she said, I'm scared that we're not going to be able to afford this house. I'm scared that, we're going to run out of money. And I'm scared that you're not ready to get married. You need to get your feet in the world more. I mean, I love and adore you, but I'm scared. Maybe we did this too soon. I'm depending on you. And that moment I said, thank you so much for telling me how you feel. I get it. I want to reassure you. You married the right guy. I've got this under control. I can do it, and I know I can do it. And then she says, "Oh, I love you," and we gave a hug. So we didn't give a lot of reality. We just acknowledged those feelings were there. All my anxiety went away. I mean, it was amazing. And I felt more motivated. I had more energy and so forth. Because when women push down their emotions, it just makes men more feminine. Men need to feel masculine. And it's when you're in your emotions. There's nothing more estrogen stimulating than being in vulnerable emotions. Now, also happiness is also a vulnerable emotion. If you're in touch with your emotions, being happy, but if your happiness is covering up negative emotions, you actually make men sleepy, you make them tired, you make them passive, you make them irritable, you make them grumpy, because when men go to their female side, they become tired, grumpy, irritable, angry, pouty, all kinds of the worst qualities, even aggression. When these crazy men become mean, that's all high estrogen in men, because part of it is they're not managing their testosterone, of course, but also she's not managing her estrogen. It always takes two people to create these problems. Without this knowledge, it always looks like somebody's a big victim. Actually, both people always feel like they're victims.
Oh, wow. I think that's like the truth bomb that was just dropped, the truth bomb of the day. We were like, oh my gosh. I think like the women are just thinking they have a whole different reality on perceiving now. I can already feel it.
That's what you did in your marriage, where you were able to share that panic. Take a moment to let other women know. I mean, it affected him in a positive way, didn't it?
Yeah, actually, he was slightly depressed before, and I didn't understand why, and he didn't even understand why. You know, he's like, I don't know, I'm going through something, and I'm like, okay, like, I don't know, because I always look at what's inauthentic in the entire relationship, so I wasn't necessarily thinking about me, but I'm like, well, if there was something, so you're absolutely right, actually, now that I connect the dots, which I never connected before, I'm like, you're right. This whole thing disappeared after I was talking about the whole panic and the whole.
It's so amazing what women owning their femininity makes men men. And I'll say the other side. If I was talking to men, I'd say, men, own your masculinity, and you'll help her find her feminine. So what would it look like for a man who owns his masculinity? It would mean that anytime he's starting to feel negative emotion, he would detach and do something without depending on her or giving to her. Do something on his own to be happy and fulfilled, to bump up his testosterone. That's why Men Are From Mars talked about the cave, which is so important, is the cave, when men withdraw, it allows them to rebuild their testosterone. I tell men to stop complaining. You will never hear me say a complaint out my mouth. That's feminine. I don't complain. It's so powerful. I don't get angry. My wife, she said to me, you know, and I know you read my introduction from my website, an older version of it, but actually my wife passed 2 years ago, and I'm sort of through the major grieving part of it. So be with me for a moment as I acknowledge that. So she passed, and I'm going through this thing. But when she was alive, 34 years, we're married, 40 years together, around 23 years, I asked her, honey, how do you rate me as a husband? Feeling very confident in myself. And she said, honey, as a father to our children, I can't imagine a better man. As a husband, you're not perfect. But, she said, but you've given me the greatest gift any woman could want. And I said, what's that? She says, I know I can say things, I can express myself, my feelings, and it upsets you. And you start to get angry. And every time you start to feel angry, you stop talking. You go to your cave, and you don't come out until you're ready. And when you come out, you always have more love for me. I've seen it over and over. I've even done things to see if I can upset you. And you get upset, you go, and you always come back with more love, because that's how you grow in love. You only grow in love by being challenged. And what I teach men is, if you complain or whine to hurt, you destroy your relationship. And it's okay when you go to your cave, if your mind is filled with she did this, she did that, but know that that's your nonsense, and stop. Just go stop, stop, stop. It doesn't help you, and it doesn't help her. Do something to make you feel good. Temporarily forget what upset you. Then feel better, because all you have to do as a man is raise your testosterone, and all those emotions go away. See, women, you raise your testosterone, and you're on your male side, and you're feeling incomplete and empty. Okay, you can push emotions away by busy, but then you're stressed, more stressed because you're out of balance. But for a man, all we have to do is go over to our male side, pump up our testosterone. Then we're not plagued by all this negative emotion stuff. And so what we then do is then reflect on what happened, look at what she did wrong, and never tell her. That's not your job. Do you want her telling you what you're wrong? No. So don't tell her. So don't tell her. After you look at how she contributed to the problem, you look at how you created the problem. And then you go back and you apologize for your side of it and give more love. And that built trust. And then when women feel trust, what then happens is this hormone oxytocin gets produced in their body. And this is extremely important for women as they get older. Safety. And not safety in terms of I have survival and security, but it's safety, emotional safety, to reveal, to become naked emotionally is the most important thing to come back to your female side. So to feel safe happens over time through good communication skills, where she felt so much safety knowing nothing she could do would push me out of her life. And that's what she told me. So, I'm a happy woman. Well, what that does is that produces oxytocin. Oxytocin is safety. Now, when a woman has oxytocin, and only then can her estrogen levels go up. So the precursor to having high estrogen is feeling oxytocin. So they go hand in hand. Estrogen says, I can depend on you. I need help. I get help. But oxytocin says it's safe for me to ask for help, that I am loved. And oxytocin is very important. Oxytocin is very important for great sex. And basically, all orgasmic potential is super high estrogen. When a woman orgasms, she doubles her estrogen levels. And she can't double her estrogen levels without oxytocin. Oxytocin is stimulated by feeling safe, one. Oxytocin is stimulated as well by physical, non-sexual touch. That's why women need their whole bodies touched. They need to be kissed. They need to have their hair touched. They need their whole body gently touched until she starts feeling more sexual. When she feels more sexual, that's because her estrogen is now increasing over the normal levels of healthy estrogen. So healthy estrogen is around the realm of 10 times more estrogen than a man would have. Now it's starting to go into this other category of higher estrogen. Then non-sexual touch becomes sexual. And then she can start going to the higher levels where she can experience her orgasmic potential. And half the women have never had an orgasm, which is really, how do you keep a relationship together if she's not having orgasms? It doesn't happen. Now, I don't want to put pressure on women to always have an orgasm, because it depends where she is and her stress level, whether she can have it. But a man needs to feel bonded with a woman, experience at least once a month her full-blown orgasm. That will keep him bonded to her, because it raises his testosterone so high. If not every week, okay? But it's unfortunate that couples don't have good sexual skills. A woman can't find that high estrogen level unless he has good sexual skills and takes the time. But once again, you can train a man. It just simply is, oh, this feels so good, slow, slow. Oh, this feels so good, slow, slow. Move his hands where you want them to go. There's so much control that you can do without controlling a man. Just like when you want to talk to him about your feelings, you say, these are some of the magic words. These are $1 million phrases I'm going to reveal to you now. I just want to talk about what happened yesterday. It's not a big deal. As soon as you say it's not a big deal, a man's stress level goes down and he can start to hear what you have to say.
Oh, so ladies, keep that in mind. So, go ahead.
I just need to talk about this for a few minutes.
Awesome.
Lower his stress.
I love that. I love that so much. I could talk about this forever, and I'm so excited to have you on here today, Dr. John Gray. I know you